reality goes with either an he or she would be either a doctor or an engineer, because there was an engineering wave. You know that a lot of engineers, and I think you can very well link to the global multinationals today, which most of them are been led by an Indian tech guy at an various, either it's Google or it's a Microsoft or various other tech companies today. So there was a wave of people either going for engineering or medical, and of course I was quite inclined to be an engineer myself. When the reality hits you at 10 plus 2, when you're not able to get a decent amount of scores to be on a college that you decide for, that's where the chartered accountancy journey started. Honestly, it was completely different coming from a science background, taking something from commerce. It was like a 360-degree shift. uh, but yeah, I think it is interesting. I would say I'm still lucky, since chartered accountancy is considered to be one of the toughest course in our country, and also across the world, with at least 2 to 3% pass rate. So you can imagine the size of India and the number of people appearing for the exam,
Mhm.
and not more than 2 to 3% people clearing even today. So
Yeah.
that's one of the toughest. So I definitely take a pride on be an proud member of that fraternity. Uh, and it has been interesting, honestly. That's where I started my career with PwC, being in audit. And from there, it definitely started giving part to my career, I would say, from PwC Pune to PwC Dubai, then having a short span of time spent in J&J, in
Mhm.
other side, because J&J was one of the clients for PwC. And
Mhm.
then Amgen has been 4 years. I think it has been an interesting journey to be part of Amgen, honestly, wherein I look after the Middle East and Africa operations
Mhm.
throughout. Uh, looking after the tax and statutory compliance for the company, and also looking after various automation that we do. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey overall.
Yeah, I feel that you have been very lucky, but also you also contributed a lot because you also worked on yourself to be able to pass the exam and also like be able to be in leading in one of the most leading companies in the world, such as PwC and J&J. So these are very reputable companies. So you're able to lead your way into these companies. It's very fascinating. You mentioned something about automation. Can you please tell me more about it? I feel that this is a very hot topic and everybody's talking about it at the moment. And I saw that you have been implementing bots or something in the finance process. So can you please tell me more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think automation is quite fascinating, I would say. And as you know, with technology getting advanced day by day, today now we are even talking about AI, which is the next
Yeah.
generation of the automation in various sense. See, in finance, there are a lot of processes that were previously, quite manual and cumbersome without no value add, right? Even if you hire an employee to do such a process, it's just repetitive process. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring automation on certain processes which are not value
Mhm.
added, more repeated and standard processes, wherein I think we are not only aiming efficiency but accuracy a lot, and trying to bring in that operational efficiencies through reduced workforce. Of course, it's not at aim to reduce workforce more, but it's to more bring in more accuracy and efficiency in the process that we do today. Just to give you a perspective, right, there were a lot of manual process. I can give you about audit because I come from an audit background. uh,
Mhm.
so in audit, typically the way audit goes is, you request some information to the client. Client would share an information, or the other way, let's say as an Amgen, if we are getting audited by some third firm, they are going to request certain information, right, which is a standard information every year,
Yeah.
right? They would require your financials and balance sheets and whatnot. So, and if I assign somebody to do that task every year, it's not going to be interesting for anybody, right? If I do same
For
thing again
sure.
and again, I won't like it as well. So that's where
Mhm.
we've identified certain critical processes wherein we can bring in bots, and that's where now today we've started using a audit bot, which was implemented for MIA countries, and through that, all the standard requirements or whatever we have is been provided directly by bot to the auditors.
Mm.
So technically we just schedule the bot to provide that information, and bot does the crunching of data from various different sources that we have
Yeah.
in accounting system.
But do you feel that your job is threatened because of the implementation of the bots or the AI, or you feel that you're confident that your job will last for long?
See, now there are two different elements, right? You need to understand, right? As human, not every company is hiring you to do that repeated task, right? There is some
Mm-hmm.
element of you know quality over quantity. So there are
Mm-hmm.
certain qualitative aspects which bot or AI not be able to do it. Even if they do it, they would require somebody to validate those. Correct.
Mm.
That validation let's just take an example, right? Bot can only assist me with the data, but to understand the law regulations or the
Mm.
nitty gritty of the accounting framework, you still need somebody. So what is happening now is, just to let's say take an pie chart for my own work, right, at 100% level. Bot is supporting me for 20-30% of the task, which was very manual, which was wasting my time, honestly. If that is automated, so I can literally focus and give my time
Mm.
to more productive things which can add value to the client or the companies. So I think in that sense, I would say this is more like an enabler for you to focus on qualitative tasks rather than focusing only on something that's more manual.
Mm.
So I don't say there is a risk in terms of employment, and then definitely it's different for different person. Someone who's only purely a guy who's going to do data entry, definitely their task as risk. But someone who's a professional like me, or somebody who's coming from
Mm.
chartered accountancy fraternity, I think they're going to benefit out of it rather than having a risk of losing something
Yeah.
out of it.
So you said that you really care about delivering quality over quantity, and you think that your job will not be redundant when it comes to automation and everything that requires like automation. So I feel that you have like a humane side that you use in your work as well, which is probably the coordination with various teams and stakeholders, and you try to probably be the middleman between the stakeholders and the regulations and stuff like that. Can you please tell me more about how does the process work, and what you as a chartered accountant add the humane side in your work? Like, what is it that can help in this part?
See, there are various elements, right? Now, when you talk about higher management or top management, they are interested into numbers for sure, and that number crunching can be done through automation.
Yeah.
But what they need is, they need somebody who can explain those numbers to them, right?
Mm.
They need somebody who can help them make decisions through those numbers. See, data crunching or getting audit done is one part of the things. To help them read those numbers and decide on future action plans, on corrective
Mm.
measures, or something, if there is a strong strength, how we are going to capitalize in future on them, is somebody. That's where the human part comes in picture, and that's where you need somebody who can understand those and help you decide on strategies for the future. And that's what top
Mm.
management is more interested into.
All right. So I also saw that you use Tableau to also um, uh, put all the numbers and make like a review of the business performance and everything to showcase the numbers in a more visually appealing way and also a little bit more understanding way. Don't you think, for example, if you put or the automation bot has already implemented all this data in a more visually comforting way, let's say using Tableau, don't you think, for example, the management team will be able to crunch those numbers or will be able to understand those numbers a bit easily without your job, or you think analyzing those numbers, regardless if they are visually put together, is more important?
So there's an interesting thought here, and I can share. So putting numbers on Tableau or any other tool that can represent your numbers in a better way, there are two things that can be done. If I put in front of the screen at a mall, everybody can read it. right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, it's same things. If you put that on a screen in the company, wherein those numbers are getting updated every time or every, let's say, 10 seconds, everybody passing on the floor in your company can read it, right? There is a difference between reading and analyzing, and that requires
Mm.
human acumen and understanding, and that comes with an period of experience.
Yeah, I can see this.
Yeah,
So you always think that analyzing those numbers should be managed by someone who is professional, who understands those numbers.
correct.
All
So
right.
just to, let's say, take an example, right? In companies, we have different functions, right? We have HR, we have sales, we have marketing, we have finance, we've got tax, we've got IT. Okay, if I put those numbers in front of IT and HR, for them it's just numbers. They don't understand what's
Yeah.
happening. Correct. So that's the reason we have functions in the companies that we part of, or the organizations. If there was no requirement to have a different functions, I think then and those tools would be just used, and anybody and everybody in the company would be able to make strategies for future.
Mm. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it sounds very logical that yeah, not every number can be understood by anybody. You should understand what is the process behind it to be able to analyze it. That's true. So can you tell me a little bit more about the challenges you have faced in your career path, or probably in your journey?
I think I have an interesting like story about this. So as I said,
Mm-hmm.
right, I come from a science background, and I made a 360-degree flip to take commerce and pursue chartered accountancy, which is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So science is not about numbers, it's more about theories and technologies, and the past proved algorithms and logics. But when it comes to accountancy and commerce, it's completely different. So I still remember my first day at the class, and I don't know anything about debits and credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I, so there was something that's sort of been taught by our class teacher, and I asked the guy beside me, saying that, can you like help me when to write debit and when to write a credit? He said you just need to write it alternatively. Once you write a debit, and next time you write a credit. So it
Mm-hmm.
was making fun of me in the class because I don't understand. So that's where the journey started. So it has never been easy, I would say. I still remember days wherein I had sleepless night, also cursing my own decisions of taking on this one, because I literally could not understand anything for first few months in the entire curriculum, and even decided that, okay, I need to just cut short and go. But to give you on the hindsight, my all commerce friend who were that time sitting with me, or maybe have never cleared chartered accountancy till date. So it's been 10 years for me, coming from a science background, and I could clear everything on a first go,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is very rare when you see chartered accountants. Usually they take multiple attempts. To give an example, my own younger brother today has not cleared chartered accountancy after appearing for 10 times.
Wow. Yeah, but I feel that you have also worked so hard to get where you are right now.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
would you give an advice to do you do you see giving yourself like your younger self advice that it's okay and it will be okay to change career, or would you tell your younger self that it's better to stick to probably science and go to that direction? It will be easier and probably it will open better doors. Would you give yourself an
See,
advice?
I think for me, if I have to purely advise on somebody who doing chartered accountancy, right? Because I have been through that journey, I would have only as one advice for anybody and everybody who would like to pursue or is pursuing chartered accountancy, is to stay away from somebody who's failed in the process, because someone who's
Mm,
failed has nothing to give you.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that was very much true in my sense, I would say. And I've seen people, because what happens is when somebody fails, they have more of an excuse in terms of what they have not achieved rather than what they have. So and that was in my case, because my elder cousin was doing
Mm,
chartered accountancy, and he started before me, and I would say he started at least couple of years before me, and then I cleared, and then he become a chartered accountant at least couple of years after me.
Okay.
So, and we were staying together, and I think he was the one I was always staying away from. So, and I even told him,
Okay.
because I said, I think if I take your advice, I think I'll follow the same path.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and then everybody has to decide their own path, right? Because then you need to analyze your own strengths and weaknesses, right? I
For
would be good
sure.
at some subjects, and some things may be my bottleneck, which would be different. So if I talk to someone and understand their bottlenecks, let's say they would
Yeah.
be good at theories and I would be good at practicals, and it can be
Mm.
vice versa for everyone. So it's different. So I would really say, decide your own strategy and stay away from somebody who's failed.
That's a very good advice. I really like it. I will also keep it and make it my own. So speaking of advices, can you give probably an advice to someone who would like to be an aspiring professional and excel in this area? Or like, what would you give an advice to people who would like to go into audit and compliance and finance and accounting? Something a bit specific to people who would like to explore that territory.
I mean, see, the whole idea and perspective, if I have to encourage somebody to do auditing or accounting or something to on this side, in terms of, this is quite interesting, right? Because audit for me, it's like, that every day you'll have a different scenario in front of you, because each year the company you audit or the compliance that you manage will have different dynamics, right? Just take an example of COVID, which we had a couple of years
Yeah.
back, had so much of a different dynamic, even from a compliance audit or various standpoint for various countries. My advice to someone who wants to pursue or who's pursuing this as a career, I think this area is ever evolving. There is never going to be a downside of taking this
Yeah.
up as a career. Honestly, this will always be in demand, and as more and more the complexity is increasing in finance world, or across the world, in terms of cross country trades or cross border trades and various, you know uh, like remote working today, with a lot of MNCs and multinationals are focusing on, this is going to be always a niche area to be part of. So this as a
Mm.
career would be like always bright, and will be always in demand.
Mm, yeah, that's very interesting. I do believe that also this area will evolve, and I feel you are a very good example because I saw that you had an award and recognition that you have received recently is like to create value for patients and staff and stakeholders and also delivers result and demonstrating leadership. Can you please also provide some specific examples and projects or achievements that led to these awards?
I mean, as I said, that automation is very close to my heart, and those awards are
Mm-hmm.
in terms of bringing in that efficiencies and productivity in the company, and eventually any productivity or efficiency that we bring in, and that any saving that we bring in the company, eventually those monies are then utilized for better causes. I would say, in terms of advanced research on various other diseases. So definitely, it's adding value to patients and stakeholders and business, and I think we're trying to do a lot of those things through automation today.
Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting because I feel that you're also very passionate about your job. So what motivates you to continue delivering quality work and build strong relationships with your colleagues and the business and the client? How do you keep up with all of this?
I mean, the whole idea of this, and what keeps me motivated, is the fact that our company is trying to impact lives of patients through serving them through various advanced medicines and
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic areas, or those are in critical illnesses. So I think we are going to literally bringing smiles to some of the families across the world, in terms
Yeah.
of helping their near one and dear ones to recover through various critical illnesses, and that really motivates and keep us going, honestly, in the organization. I would say that we're
That's
trying to bring impact on the world.
That's very interesting because you usually, when you work with numbers, you don't really usually see. the impact, the direct impact on patients and clients. However, somehow it really reflects on your work. Um, how can you keep yourself, how can you remind yourself this when you work? Because sometimes we may forget when we work in a very technical side, we may forget that there is a humane side like behind this, and we are really working with patients, but probably indirectly, not like a healthcare team. So how do you
So
do this?
see, honestly, just to give a funny side of it, if you see numbers and numbers are growing, you are impacting more people and bringing in more money on the table. That's one motivation for the finance
Mm-hmm.
team as such, if you can say. But then on a larger scheme of things, right, you know which organization you are part of and what you're doing. And and the best thing about is that we have a lot of newsletters that are floating in around on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis, and when we read those, that really encourages us to do better things and about the company, and that's one of the motivation, I would say. So reading about those stories, or hearing about patient stories through leadership, I think that really motivates and keeps us going, and say that okay, whatever we are doing, maybe not directly but indirectly, we are part of a larger cause.
Hmm. That's a very interesting idea. Like, yeah, through growing numbers, you're able to impact people, but probably indirectly. So that's a very great approach. In your job at the moment, do you get to train onboarding new joiners into your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm part of the MIA central head office, or the headquarter, you can say, and I have taken on certain areas wherein I really take on onboarding sessions and trainings for certain policies and
Mhm.
procedures within our company. Yeah.
And can you please tell me a little bit more about like your responsibilities and strategies to ensure smooth transitions with new employees?
I mean, see, now the employees may not be always your direct reports, right? Sometimes you are just conducting onboarding for larger audience.
Mm.
In that sense, what we try to do is, at least through the sessions and the trainings that we have internally, we make sure that they have a better understanding on the roles and responsibility that they are required, or the policies and procedures they should know when while they are on job. So there are various compliance procedures we follow. Onboarding is one of them, and apart from that, there are regular refresh trainings that we assign to those team members, so that they have continuous learning and refresh memory or knowledge is been passed on about those policies and procedures.
No, that's super interesting. Yeah, I mean, sometimes training a new joiner can be challenging, but I feel probably if you have a specific procedure and a specific process, it may go smoothly. All right. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for your conversation with the
Perfectly.
executive.